Hey fam! Welcome to MIKEroaggress'd Monday, a rare Monday night show. I'm so excited. This is a dream guest for me. I'm so excited. Let's get right into it. The iconic, he needs no introduction. Welcome, Mr. Robby Soave. What's
Great to
up,
be
dude?
with you. Thank you for having me.
So I've only recently discovered the proper way to say your name. It's Soave, right?
It is Bobby. You got it right. But I never correct people. Different people say it different ways in my family. I don't care.
I just can't believe that's like actually your name. You are Rico fucking Suave, actually.
It's a kind of white wine, actually, although I'm a red wine drinker. There's Soave Classico and Soave Superiore.
That's the only reason I found out how to properly pronounce it, because there was a video about how to pronounce the wine, and I'm like, okay, you're a wine and Rico fucking Suave.
And I come from a big family of wine drinkers. I had a very Italian heritage growing up. My family actually made wine growing up, so I've been around it a long time.
You're a paisan?
I am, yes.
All right, I wasn't a big enough boy before. Now I am. What part of Italy is your family from?
My family is from, I believe, central Italy. Cassino. There was a World War II battle there. I think it's just a little north of Rome, although I could be off on that. It was my great-grandparents came over, so it wasn't like recent immigrants or anything, but
Nice. Mine are southern trash.
Oh yeah. Well, that might as well be Africa.
Yeah, seriously. How you doing, dude?
I am doing well, fun times here in the swamp. I'm in Washington, D.C.
I know. So, oh my God, we have so much to get to. But first, let me say hi to our beautiful chat friends, Shire, Dylan, B, Austin, Chris, everybody. If you feel so inclined, send in your super chats, help support the channel. Send in your questions for this lovely gentleman. So Robby, what is DC like in this current moment? Are you feeling that the tides have turned? Is there a major backlash? Have the people gotten more insane?
There is no backlash whatsoever to speak of yet. It's really funny, the difference between, Election Day 2016, when there was mass protesting, there was a feeling of how did this happen? Defiance, resistance, etc. People weeping, people processing. This time, election morning, I got on my little electric scooter to head off to my studio where I tape Rising, the morning show that I do, and it was just quiet. It was just quiet. No, there might, one day be protesting again. I won't discount that, but I think right now, Democrats, the left, the media, whoever, you want to describe them as, they're in just serious, if not retreat, they're biding their time. They don't know what their line of attack is yet, and they're waiting to figure it out.
Yeah, it seems to me like all of these groups you had in past years, Antifa and BLM and stuff, it seems to me like the memo kind of went out from the top. Like, let's maybe keep ourselves in check a little bit for now. This ain't a great look.
Yeah, I think there's a widespread perception, even among pretty progressive people, that didn't work. I mean, Trump returned defiantly, won re-election with more support than he had previously. Some of the activists, with BLM specifically, turned into a big grift where people were giving money so that the leaders of that activist movement could buy like hype houses for themselves, that kind of thing. And it just didn't work.
Let me tell you, I chose the wrong grift. I really did. Because I'm sure any of us get called grifters all the time.
Yeah, I don't even know what that word means anymore, but it certainly applies to those people.
Yeah, boy, did I choose the wrong one. Like, if I'm like, that's how to be a grifter, is just pretend to have some identity-based issue, cash in, buy your houses, and go away.
Yeah.
I chose the wrong path.
Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to ask you, one thing I really like about you is that I think we're we definitely just saw this the other day with the Epstein debacle, but I think we're really living in a time where sort of political commentary is so oversaturated and most people are just very sycophantic and just kind of always go with one side or the other. And Daniel pointed this out. One thing I really like about you is I think that you're somebody who's very independent-minded and doesn't just go with tribalism.
I appreciate that. It has become harder to do that over time as like the tribes really just solidified it. It's rarer to encounter someone, and I think my views are pretty consistent, as a libertarian, but to not fit in entirely neatly with one side or the other. Although, having said that, the Republican Party is certainly doing, I feel weird saying this, is doing more that I like than I can remember doing. So I'm like more of a enthusiast for what Trump is doing at this very moment than I've ever been in my life. And I'm almost even uncomfortable admitting that, because I'm just like uncomfortable liking anyone in charge or in authority. And it's messy and it's not perfect. And I have a lot of criticisms of it, but they are actually trying to decrease the size of government for the first time, probably in my entire life, and maybe well before that.
Isn't it weird having to like say nice things about the Republican Party?
It's
more
horrible.
So, like, I thought I hated them when I was a liberal, but
Yeah.
nobody hates Republicans more than Republicans. Like, they've been a disaster for so many years, and I feel like they might actually be getting on a better track.
And they still feel, but they still have a pull toward being a disaster or to just being totally ineffective. And the Epstein release is a good example of that, where like they didn't do what they said they were going to do, which is release the thousands of additional pages the FBI has. They released information that has been out there already for years. And then when people got mad about that, the Republicans did like that Rickroll thing, the House Judiciary or whatever House committee it was that released that. It's like, guys, that's you can't just say that you can't get your way because the deep state and the liberals are stopping you. You're in charge now. You have more political power than again you've ever had in my entire life, and I'm quite middle-aged at this point, so that's a lot of time.
You are not.
No, I actually am, but
I thought you were like 20.
That's very kind of you. No, I'm 36. I'm a big boy. Been around a long time.
And you're not shy to admit it. I've celebrated about 20 or 30 20th birthdays at this point. So.
Love that. But yeah, it's the Republican Party is habitually it's inclined toward just being out of power and being really mad about it, being whiny on cable news or in their own alternate media circumstances. So that works when you're out of power, but now they can't say that. They won. They have won the popular vote, the presidency, Congress, courts are friendly. Got to do something now. Got to do something.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say over the years Republicans like to complain more than they like to actually govern.
Absolutely. I think that's true.
So what genre of libertarian would you say you are? Are you one of the like Libertarian Party people? Like if you had your druthers, would you vote Libertarian, or are you sort of on board with this path of the Republican Party becoming this sort of Big Tent?
I voted for the Libertarian Party candidate, and I've done that in every election in my adult life.
Robby!
Now, having said that, I did not expect that, again, I didn't expect Donald Trump was going to actually put together a coalition of very smart tech and business people to find ways to shrink government. If I had actually thought that was going to happen, it's conceivable I would have voted differently. I don't know. I didn't believe Trump had already been president, and it was fine. I don't think it was like an apocalypse or anything. I'm not, a hair on fire liberal person at all, but it was just not, there were a lot of promises were made that didn't happen. So I didn't feel particularly compelled to vote for him this time around either. The Libertarian Party I have been a supporter of. Interestingly enough, they did at the very high level. If you talk to the Libertarian Party candidate, Chase Oliver, he will say he feels utterly betrayed by the party at the highest level, that they made a deal with Trump. Trump came to their convention. They worked behind the scenes to support Trump in exchange for tangible political outcomes like the freeing of Ross Ulbricht. That's been a top priority for the Libertarian Party. You can disagree with that strategy in terms of advancing the Libertarian Party. It certainly worked in terms of getting some policies concretely met. So I don't really know how I feel about it, but I have been a supporter of the party. But now that increasingly just means being a supporter of the right.
So what has kind of your journey been in terms of Trump? Were you immediately against him in 2016? Has your view changed at all?
I don't think I was ever so again. I mean, he was certainly not my first choice in the 2016 primaries, where there were 800 different people to choose from. I was a supporter of Rand Paul. I liked what he had to say from the get-go on foreign policy, on, parting ways with the kind of Bush or neoconservative establishment. I've always felt that way as a libertarian, that the Republican Party had gone totally in the wrong direction there. But on a lot of other things he talked about were not quite my, his immigration policies are more restrictionist than I would be. His trade policies are a lot more, even still to this day. The thing I disagree with Trump probably most strongly on is his, embrace of tariffs. And I think it's one thing to embrace tariffs as like a diplomatic tool, as like a negotiating tactic. That's fine, but actually implementing them, I think will end up hurting us very much. So I'm not looking forward to that. So from the get-go, I liked some things about him. I didn't like other things about him. I found, probably like everyone, I found his very different rhetoric at times really outside the norms of political behavior rhetoric off-putting, but I don't know if either my standards for political rhetoric have gone down or we're just, it doesn't faze me anymore. And I don't care that much anymore. I just care about what the policies are going to be. And I'm more supportive of them than I am against them. So here we are.
Yeah. See, for me, his personality has always been a draw for me. Like I'm basically like Joe Pesci on the inside. Mm-hmm. So I like anyone who speaks like that. But no, I've kind of run the gamut on him. That I was a liberal Democrat 2016, hated him then started to come around, loved him in 2020. And then sort of once I took a step back and really examined his first administration, I was kind of railing against him from 2021 to 2023 or 4, mainly because of COVID stuff, amongst other things, his hiring decisions. So I really never thought I would be in this position where I feel so passionately about his second administration, but I feel like he's kind of starting to really come into his own and be the leader that a lot of people hoped he would be for a long time.
Well, you see it in terms of, I think the phenomenon of so many tech leaders getting on board with Trump, or at least being less antagonistic to Trump. And that you don't have to be full Elon where you worship the man, you follow, you stand in his shadow, advising him at all times. But even Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg is such a good test case for someone who really flirted for a long time with trying to appease Democratic political figures in the progressive movement and the left, and got nothing in return for it but their unending hatred and persecution, and has finally woken up and said, everything they extorted me to do made my company less successful and worse off, violated my core principles, and they're still trying to destroy it. They're still complaining that Russian bots on Facebook is why Trump won. So to hell with them, I renounced them, and now I'm going to be neutral or a little right-coded. I mean, the vibe shift toward the right is so well represented by what our tech leaders are doing. And I think the immediate future, even the long-term future for our economic prospects is going to be so guided by the tech sector. So having all of those people on board with an administration that wants to allow those leaders to lead on those issues is, I think, very key and very telling.
Do you think it's going to stay that way with them? Because I just feel like these people kind of blow with the wind, whichever way, that once the Democrats get in power, they'll be Democrat again. I think they kind of just act in their own self-interest.
They might, but I think, well, they certainly act in their own self-interest, but I think they've realized their self-interest is never going to be helped by playing nice with the Democratic Party or Elizabeth Warren or Lena Khan, the people trying to regulate their companies out of existence. Whereas being nicer to Republicans has sapped the Republican Party's enthusiasm for regulating big tech. We hear less of the break up big tech from the right because big tech is not actively engaged in a censorship regime anymore. So it is definitely in their self-interest. Also, it's just kind of, politics is a game on some level, like it operates like a game. And if you play, any game, if you played enough times, like the first couple times you might try weird strategies, or you might do something that you later like, oh, that was actually against my interest. That doesn't make sense. But by the 5th time, you're playing very seriously, like you're just going to adopt the optimal strategy if you want to win. That's what politics is now. There's no more confused, like very liberal Republicans or very conservative Democrats. We're a pretty neatly divided country into 2 extremely different parties fighting over a handful of undecided people in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and so what you're saying is they're basically like Boston Rob on his 17th time playing Survivor.
No, yes, exactly. I know we mentioned that you're a Survivor fan too, but yeah, whatever. And I've missed the last 10 seasons, so for all I know, he's been on the show.
It's the budget era. You're not missing anything.
The one, I think it was his 4th time on the show where he just played the perfect game. Like he made no mistakes the whole game and won it. Like he marched to the end playing just an optimal straight. There's no more silliness. He just knew exactly how to play and did that and won. Is actually a perfect example of what I'm talking
about. That's and especially he also won because the other players were so incompetent, which is kind of the Democrats now. You're blowing by the way, chat. I've recently found out that he is also a Survivor fan, and that horror movies and competition reality games are like that's what I'm a nerd over.
Yeah, and to tease out that example actually a little bit more, in that same season, I think I told you before, I don't remember that much about Survivor. Here I am recalling it very well, actually. In that same season, right, Russell was on the other team, was returning, and that other team decided they disliked Russell so much that they lost a challenge on purpose in order to vote him off, which is the textbook behavior I'm describing. It made no sense for like they didn't like the guy, but it was harming their own interest to do that, which is something you only do if you're playing for the first time, right? Whereas Boston Rob was playing for the 4th time and was playing the perfect game. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. You might make a mistake like that the first time you play the game or the second time you play the game, including in politics. No one is making these amateur mistakes anymore.
What's interesting, though, is I don't think that there has really been much of any introspection on Democrats' parts. Like they are doubling and tripling down on everything.
They are so lost right now. I almost feel a little bad for them because
America, it's beautiful. I love it.
But America would benefit from competitive political. I don't know. The Democrats are still figuring it, and the Democrats are a couple different things, right? Like the left is more dead than ever right now in terms of the media movement, the media moment. Like they have no, Bernie Sanders is nearing retirement age, is less of an important media phenomenon. And just all that, I'm in the kind of YouTube news podcasting space. The show I do, Rising, formerly before I was hosting it, was really big under the previous host and known for being closely associated with Bernie Sanders and progressive politics and was part of a whole, even Joe Rogan, right, was a Bernie Sanders fan. Now, so many of those people have moved to the right or like really far to the right, or are even now part of the Trump administration, like RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. You can go, Jimmy Dore, Kim Iverson, Russell Brand, Glenn Greenwald, and many of these people would not say they're now conservative, but they do make content that often appeals, I think more than half the time, certainly appeals to contrarian, dissident, right-leaning, libertarian audiences. It's not for the progressive left anymore because there's no audience for that. I feel bad for my friends in that contingent.
I feel like you are one of the only people who I'm just assuming here, correct me if I'm wrong, who is kind of friends with both sides and able to maintain friendships with people on the left.
Yes, I'm still close with many of the former co-hosts on my show, Rising, who are of the left. I've always had friends all over the place. That's become a little bit more not with those specific people, but I used to have before the pandemic, before COVID, I had a lot of even mainstream media friends. I think honestly that's harder than having friends on the left because people on the far left have gone through some of the same, like being out of power and having an adversarial relationship with mainstream media that you and I have. Whereas mainstream media people are sometimes in, I think, like the most solidified bubble of all. But I still have a lot of friends there too.
How? That's my question. How? Like, for me personally, I don't care what someone's politics are. I'll be friends with anyone. But I don't think it's ever happened with me that I've been shown that same respect by leftists. It feels like they're always the ones who are incapable of disagreement. I'm frankly not eager to talk about politics when I'm not recording content for my show or for other shows. Like, when people ask me my opinion of things in the real world, I sometimes am like, but I'm not on the clock right now. I don't know. What do you think? I talk so much all day. I certainly don't need to hear the sound of my own voice anymore. So I don't have this passion or enthusiasm. I used to, but now that I do so much of it for work,
and I also work full-time at a magazine, Reason, I'm like, my need to pontificate, even on Twitter, I tweet way less than I used to because
Same.
I'm just, I get my opinion out enough. I don't need to do it anymore.
God, I am so with you on that. When it comes to friends or whatever, like that's the last thing I want to talk about is politics. I've learned that with dating. I've learned that like the last person I want to date is somebody political. I'm like, my dream guy is like apolitical, doesn't have a clue of what's happening in the world.
Yeah, it's sometimes it can be off-putting when people ask me, well, what do you actually think about is going on with the Trump administration? I'm like, turn the cameras on then, because we might as well monetize this. If it's not being monetized, can we talk about board games or
Yes.
video games or movies or something, anything else?
Okay, I want to get into that, but wait, let me just hit up my beautiful Austin has super chat. Thank you, dude. I foresee a shift to the right for younger voters as the years go by, especially if their ability to enter the wider economy keeps being hindered.
Yes. The shift to the right among young people is real. It's real. It's massive. It's so real. It shows up in poll results now. It's not just like, oh, anecdotally, all the kids I know today are like super based. I would be skeptical of that, but it actually comes through in polling as well. I have a variety of potential explanations for that, but I do think, and I would say this because it just plays to the kind of things I wrote about and talked about for so long, but clearly the level of policing of language and behavior that progressives engaged in elite media and elite schooling and whatever else has, I think, caused this change. I think young people were just so sick of call out culture, cancel culture, being fired or denied admission to university over like stupid things they tweeted and said. This is the first generation that went their entire lives having everything they said or did recorded or transcribed via text or whatever, having to live with an existing record of everything they do and being held to totally unreasonable standards by progressive elites. I think that's a big explanation for the backlash.
Yeah, completely. I think it's, people who are teenagers or younger, I think it's with inherent to their nature to want to rebel. And this is the ultimate thing that they should be rebelling against. I mean, just when I was in school, there was really none of that. You were sort of starting to see the beginning of it when I was in school. Like I went to public high school in Manhattan, and the history teacher took the class illegally on a trip to Cuba to teach about how wonderful socialism is. So I think I can like look back and see the seeds of this starting, but nowhere near what it is now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The way when I was younger, like you rebelled, and this, I'm stealing this thought from someone else. I read this on their Substack. I can't remember whose it was, but so this is not a unique insight.
Casey Anthony?
Yes. Oh dear Lord. But anyway, that if you were going to be a rebel, in the 90s and in the aughts, you were rebelling against, American patriotism, something kind of religious, something kind of rah 9/11 kind of, what Green Day was rebelling against or whatever. Whereas now the thing to rebel against is like, the middle-aged white woman type Karen archetype that would have been a religious, freedom fries kind of person it hates Trump and is liberal. And the rebellion is against that, mom's politics, and mom's politics are often not, in all cases, but often Democratic.
It's Green Day. Two of the biggest disappointments to me are Green Day and Howard Stern. He has got to be the biggest sellout of all time.
Yeah, Howard Stern's COVID derangement was particularly bad. I still like Green Day. I rarely go to concerts. I saw Green Day this summer in concert in DC for my birthday, and they were really good.
Oh, I'm jealous. I saw them so many times. I played guitar on stage with them once when I was like 16.
It was Green Day and Smashing Pumpkins opened for them, which is a band I love from when I was like a really little kid. It was a great concert.
It's so disappointing because I think Billy Joe from Green Day just went on some anti-Trump rant, and it's like, do you hear your own lyrics? Like they wrote entire albums about the media and corporate power and the government. And I mean, American Idiot was all about media propaganda. So where is that coming from now? But they can't. No, it's like this is Sailor. I was just going to say this exactly. They were anti-war during Bush and then silent for Obama drone strikes. Yeah, they have nothing to say about these things when it comes from the other side.
Yeah, and now the anti-war energy, to the extent there is any, is certainly more part of the Republican coalition than the Democratic coalition, funny enough.
Which, who would have thought that 20 years ago?
Yeah, I would not have necessarily predicted that at all, but it's now Democrats are the party of trust in elite expert consensus, and elite expert consensus is sometimes right and sometimes wrong, but on foreign policy, I certainly think it's more wrong than right, and it is the, listen to the generals, listen to the military experts, listen to all of those people, listen to the international relations scholars. Those people are all ardent regime change interventionists every single time down the line.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that these people can think that there's some sort of rebellion when their views align with every celebrity, the entire corporate media, the military-industrial complex, but they're the rebellion.
Yeah, although at this point I'm just used to I don't care what, I can separate art and artist, and so I just assume celebrities don't share my politics. And then even the celebrities who are on the right or who have kind of often
cringy.
Sometimes they have the dumbest version of right-wing politics or whatever. So it's just, I just don't care. I just expect them not to have smart things to say, and we should not seek knowledge from entertainers in general.
No, I'm with you. I haven't listened to Green Day's recent albums. The last album they put out that I liked was what was it called? 21st Century Breakdown, I think was their last good one.
Whatever song they've been playing on the radio lately, I like. And at this concert they did, I guess it was the 20th anniversary of American Idiot. They played every song from American Idiot, including the two 12-minute songs. And Billy Joel Armstrong, I can't. Man, that guy's got a voice. I was like hoarse just kind of singing along, and he's just belting it all out for hours. It's amazing.
I'm very split because you're making me want to go see them live again. But okay, let me tell you, my favorite band has never gotten political, and I love them for it, No Doubt.
Oh, I like No Doubt. Yes. I love, I'm just a very nostalgia-oriented person. In fact, I sometimes worry that I will never like a new thing. That
Me too.
I like things from my beloved childhood and teenage years. And No Doubt was something my parents had on all the time. So I love No Doubt.
I feel so old that when I talk about No Doubt to people, they're like, "Oh yeah, my parents liked them."
My parents were really hip people. They were really young people.
Really? Yeah, I swear I think Gwen Stefani is a DL conservative.
Yeah, or just might have DL unique thought. I assume a lot of these celebrities have on some front dissenting views that they just feel like they would rather not share. I mean, this even happens in pretty hardcore liberal progressive circles. You find out if you talk to people for long enough that they think pronoun policing or some aspect of COVID or whatever it is was really counterproductive and bad, and they just don't feel comfortable saying that. And that's really the Democratic Party's problem in a nutshell.
Yeah, this is so true. Also, C. Stryker, Green Day and punks of the past were not anti-censorship or anti-war. They were just anti-conservative. It's true. It pains me to say this because I love that 2000s era of pop punk music so much. But if you think about it, the whole thing was kind of a lie. Like, what was it? It was a corporate image of rebelliousness without having to actually do anything rebellious.
Yeah, and there's always just kind of been an element of that in pop culture and entertainment and in marketing and advertising. If you watch Mad Men, they talk about how they're, trying to capture, the whole show is about trying to capture the vibe and the feel of the 60s in terms of their advertising so that they can sell more Coca-Cola or t-shirts or whatever it is. And actually, there's something kind of beautiful about that no matter how radically anti-capitalist or anti-consumerist you are, we will harness that energy and use it to sell more things. Sorry.
You know who I was going to go see over the summer, but she does like a 20-minute set and stares at the floor. I was like, I'm not spending my money. Avril Lavigne.
Oh, are you a believer in the Avril?
Yes, I am. Oh, I am. That is, look, I'm not like the most tinfoil hatty person.
Yeah.
I have like inside information that makes me believe that. Ooh. So my first job when I was 14 is I was in an Avril Lavigne music video.
Which one?
It's called Losing Grip.
Okay.
You can barely see me in it, but they show me in the making the video. But my friend and I brought my best friend with me to do it. And so we kind of became friends with her and the guys in her band. We hung out a couple times. She was so awesome. No ego, super down to earth. We were like actually friends. Then a couple years later, after she may have been replaced, we get invited to her show to go backstage, hang out, whatever. She's a completely different person. Like,
Wow.
to the extent that literally said she fired all her band, who were her best friends, literally had it in her contract that people can't talk to her, people can't look at her. There was this whole thing where there was like some little kid waiting outside for her, and she instructed them to slam the garage shut on the kid, and totally different person. And so my friend and I for years were saying that we've never seen someone have like a total personality transplant like that to the extent that she did. Then years later, I'm like hearing this shit that she was replaced by a clone. I'm like, I feel like that would make sense.
It does. The departure in her style of music was so stark. I thought she was doing a parody of herself at first. So yeah, I'm with you. I believe that one.
Yeah, it's Melissa. It's fucking Melissa. But no, I am very nostalgic for her music. So I was gonna go see her live, and then I saw clips from it, and it's like she does like maybe 20 minutes, and her entire show, she's like stares at the floor, looks like she would rather be anywhere else on planet Earth.
That's terrible.
So I was like, I'm not spending $100 for that. Justin, thank you so much for the super chat, dude. I will respect your opinion as long as it does not disrespect someone else's existence. Horrible teaching. They take it overly broadly and use it to justify everything. Yeah, these people, I think, especially the alphabet people, that's like the next evolution of it, are just the ultimate histrionic drama queens.
Yeah, the whole, but you're disagreeing with my right to exist can just get, we are disagreeing over policies. I don't know, like that's what it's going to be. People are always seeking, on both sides of the political spectrum, some excuse to limit the range of opinions you're allowed to express. Sometimes they're doing this formally, the way I would accuse Democrats of weaponizing the concept of like misinformation, where it's just anything they disagree with at all is now misinformation. It's the new hate speech. It's the same way and that you used to have principled civil libertarians very much on the left. You know, the old ACLU saying, defending hate speech, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And now there's a lot more hostility. Not universally. I do know many solid people on the left that I disagree with a lot on economic policy, but are still very free speech absolutists. But there's
where are these people?
Yeah, where are they?
Yeah, no, I really feel like it's funny because people have this line of bullshit from back in the day. Oh, the parties switched. And I feel like we're kind of seeing the parties switch a bit in real time right now.
We are. I'm saying a lot of hostile things about the Democratic Party. So I should warn that I am worried about MAGA overreaching and inspiring some backlash as well in terms of...
In what way do you think that would happen?
Well, some of this stuff, the Tim Walz attempted smear that Republicans are just weird did not work at all.
Weird.
At some point, if you're, renaming the Gulf of America, I don't know. I saw it reported.
That's so dumb.
That Kristi Noem was I don't know, visiting Canada. She kept stepping into Canada and saying, "Now I'm in the 51st state," and stepping back over. "Now I'm in the 51st state." Like, okay, I get it. It's not that funny. Please stop.
No, it's so.
Please
dumb.
do something serious. Please do your jobs are no longer just to be right-wing content creators. That's our job. That's your job and my job. Those people are in government. Their job is to actually achieve the policy results we were working toward. And I'm going to get real sick really fast of just them treating their jobs like we're talking heads and we don't have to actually legislate. I mean, Congress, at this one moment in time where Republicans control Congress and could make permanent and implement some of the cuts to government programs that Elon and Trump wants to do, what are they doing? Just like jerking each other off or something? Like actually pass a law to defund aspects of USAID or the Defense Department or misinformation researchers or whatever it is. Like do it now. Don't just count on Elon to do it and then it's going to get reinstated when a different Congress comes in. You have to legislate. And I'm really annoyed that they don't feel the urgency of the moment to actually do something.
Yeah. And well, it goes back to what we were saying, that Republicans are always kind of hesitant to legislate. Got this. Well, you probably disagree with this being a libertarian, but for me, one of these sort of catchphrases that gets repeated that I cannot stand is when Republicans justify inaction by saying, oh, the government shouldn't get involved. I'm like, okay, well, the government is involved, so maybe let's involve it on behalf of the people. But I feel like a lot of these things are kind of just excuses to not do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what it is. Broadly speaking, I want the government to be as minimally involved in my life and everybody else's as possible. But yeah, like you said, there are things the government is affirmatively doing that it will take work to shut down or reduce. And so like action is called, like very significant action is called for.
Yeah, I think it will take a lot of legislation to sort of undo all of the things that they've been doing for the last 100 years or so. Austin, thank you so much for the super chat, my love. Very 1984 vibes these days. Yeah, it's true. I will say, we were just talking about, I feel a bit encouraged after the last week that I was oddly proud of the fact that with this Epstein debacle with the influencers, that so many people were so vocally against it. Because as someone who has gone back and forth on how I feel about Trump, for a bit, I think there is this minority that's very culty and never wants to criticize him and stuff. And that kind of made me feel like, oh, wow, the majority are willing to criticize when something's wrong.
Yes, there is certainly a lot of healthy debate on the right, healthy and unhealthy debate. There's debate, though, and that's a good thing. There's a more of a culture of dissent right now on the Republican side than there is on the Democratic side. There is a lot of it's chaotic and people disagreeing. And yeah, I mean, the big fight over immigration that Elon and Steve Bannon and Vivek Ramaswamy and everybody was having on Twitter was healthy and clarifying. Was good that people are allowed to disagree and argue in public, and the right has inspired, has more of that going for it right now than the like, shut up, that's offensive, don't say that, that is so toxic in progressive circles.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for the positive contributions that Elon has made, but I'll be interested to see what happens in the next couple of years because I'm not super trusting of that guy.
Well, I am very pro Elon. I'm one of the more pro Elon
really
out there. Yeah,
that's surprising. I thought you were going to be like libertarian-y about it.
Well, I mean, he is the most libertarian influence on Trump that I can tell. I think his policies are generally libertarian. I think, his goal of making us a multi-planetary species is noble and should be supported. He has transformed tech and industry so many times over. I love when people say, "Oh, he's so stupid, he's so dumb." It's just impossible for someone to be this successful at so many. I'm sure you can be stupid and stumble into great fortune and business success like once or something. I don't believe you can do it
for sure
times as he has. Will Trump and Elon eventually break up? Maybe. It could. Anything could happen, but they certainly seem to get along. Trump is never been one to really share the spotlight, but he sees something in this guy. He is happy to have him around. He's almost reserved at times. He just lets Elon cook. It is. I don't even think that I thought Trump had this level of restraint to just let Elon do his thing. It's kind of eerie. And so I think it could go on for some time.
It's very interesting, though, how the left, their native language is emotional manipulation. That is the language that they speak. And they are trying to play that card so hard when it comes to Trump and Elon and appeal to his ego and say, oh, he put Elon in charge and Elon is president. Like they think that they're going to. Well, it's all emotional language.
Our culture.
What's that?
They decided he's an immigrant and doesn't share our culture. That is literally the newest attack on Elon. It's hilarious that they're saying that.
I thought, doesn't that go against their entire thing? Like, these people have no universal principles. It's just situational to whatever benefits them at the moment. And that's why I want to point out, where is it? I love this so much. What Taylor said, I voted for Trump and I will not blindly defend every dumb thing he does. That's something I think is really important because I came from one cult. I used to be someone who was like, Democrats are the good people and anything they do is good and it's important to me to make sure I never become that again.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. That's what, like I said about tariffs, I said about, Trump, I was glad that he was working toward bringing, the conflict between Israel and Hamas to some kind of resolution. And then he tweeted like, but what if we just conquered all of Gaza Strip? And this isn't like my main issue or anything, but I'm like, that would obviously be a stupid idea. And I'm happy to say that just because Trump got some Jared Kushner idea in his head about like having the Trump hotel be there. That is obviously stupid. There are people living there. What, are we going to kill them all or displace them all? There's no American appetite to do that. Please stop. Your instincts on Ukraine, I think, are very good. And and his instincts on foreign policy in general are good. But then every now and then he'll have an idea like that I think is very dumb. And I'm happy to say it.
I'm with you. Austin, thanks so much, dude. The legitimacy of Congress and its ability to legislate has been at such a low point this past decade, at least. Congress needs rehabilitation first. Yeah, I think I think the only way that term limits would ever happen is if they instituted it in a way where it begins after these people are out of office, because they're never going to vote to put themselves out of work. So if you say it begins in 20 years, fine, but something's got to be done.
Term limits are something I support in theory for sure, but I don't know. It's a tweak to the system. I just can't get myself excited about tweaks to the system. Like, we have the system we have. You're going to put all sorts of, like, I like the idea of ranked choice voting. I like the idea of, would a national popular vote be better than electoral college? I think those are fun academic discussions, but I quickly lose interest in them because it would take an enormous amount of effort and political organizing to change those things. And like, if you're going to spend your time organizing to change something, you just want to change the rules of the game rather than like implement the policy you want. It just seems, it's not what I'm interested in doing. I don't have any disdain.
That's a good point.
I'm interested in it, but why would I spend time campaigning for like term limits instead of tax cuts? Right.
That's a good point.
I can only have so much time.
What did you think of the Real Housewives of America the other day with the Zelensky meeting?
Yeah, look, I'm a little bit more neutral on this than some, again, right-wing people who just praise every single thing Trump does. I don't think, it's clearly not Zelensky's fault that the war started. His country was invaded. I think we can go a little too, some right-wing people go a little too far in their criticisms of Zelensky. I think he is clearly an autocratic figure to some degree. He has not had to stand for re-election. They suspended independent media. I'm critical of those things. I'm also happy to call virtually every political leader on earth an autocrat because I have a trigger for my civil liberties. So sometimes it goes too far, the criticism of him. But at the same time, he has to accept reality. We need a deal to end the war. The conquered territory, if I could wave a magic wand and make like Vladimir Putin disappear and it go back to being Ukraine, I would absolutely do that. But we don't have that option. We have to live in the real world. And I don't care that he didn't dress appropriately. That's the stupidest thing ever. I don't care at all. I don't believe anyone cares. Oh my God, who cares? That's such a who cares thing. But in terms of the argument, it was actually refreshing to see political leaders arguing in the public's eye instead of arguing behind closed doors and then pretending they agree on everything. They actually had the real discussion, the real meeting in front of us. And I think it was clarifying and useful. And I don't really have a problem with how Trump or Vance or actually Zelensky behaved. They kind of disagree and they all argued about it and they went home pissed. And I hope they come back together and work it out, but they weren't ready yet. So it's fine.
I completely agree. Maybe it's my love of reality shows, but like, that was like porn for me. Like, it was just so good. And I don't know what it is, but just something about Zelensky combined with the way that he's been marketed, the Vogue photo shoots, this guy just makes my bullshit meter go bing, bing, bing.
Yeah.
And I think the moment he opened with, let me show you pictures of dead kids. I'm like, this is a manipulator.
Yeah, he's been set up as this kind of Churchillian figure by the media that is quite obnoxious. I just don't want to rewrite history and say that like it's Ukraine's fault they got invaded. It's not. Yeah. And his job is to he's trying to protect his people. I don't agree with everything he's done in the course of that. And it is now clearly in the best interest of his people to settle and make a deal. That's it. I also don't know, really. I'm undecided on how I even feel about this so-called mineral deal they're working on. What does that mean? What if Americans are then doing mining, and what if Russia attacks and Americans get killed? Then we will be in World War III. And I kind of wonder if Vance, who is even more of a populist, non-interventionist than Trump is, had that thought and was like, how can I sabotage these talks because I actually am not in favor of this mineral deal? I don't know that that's the case, but I've wondered.
That's a good point. Bobby, thank you so much, my dude. Trump, Elon, RFK, Tulsi, all being former Dems. Seems the new battle lines are teams of conservatives and classical liberals versus neocons and communists. I completely agree with that.
It is kind of amazing how easily the neoconservatives just adopted being part of the Democratic Party, your Cheneys and then some. They feel right at home on CNN and MSNBC and in Democratic policy circles. And also those organizations wrongly think that parading those people around buys them credibility with someone. I don't know with who. It didn't work, and I don't think it ever will, but they can keep trying it.
No, I really love the direction that this has been going, that it's kind of just anyone with a functioning brain versus these nut jobs. What would you say is sort of the one issue you're passionate about that that isn't really being discussed right now?
Oh, interesting. I don't even know if there is such a thing, because I passionately try to talk about the things that are in the Ethernet. What do I care about that is not being talked about? That's a good question. That's a tough one. I mean, I'm still for I am a crazy libertarian, so I'm for legalizing drugs and all substances and sex work and whatever crazy things libertarians believe in. That stuff doesn't get talked about as much anymore, but I'm for it.
That's funny. I was actually thinking about that today in relation to the Oscars. And they were talking about sex work and stuff. And I'm a little bit torn on that issue because theoretically, I agree that I am kind of a bit of a libertarian at heart. But then I think also when you look at the state of the culture over this last decade, that things have gotten so terrible that a part of me is like, would that really be positive for people, where it seems like we do have degeneracy just being shoved down our throats at every second? I'm like, would it be a great thing to do? So I don't know. I'm a bit torn on that.
My bottom line is I don't know what is best for other people, and I don't really care, and it's none of my business. And if you want to do that, that might be, now that if we're talking about sex work, the opportunities to, the kind of abusive relationship that you have a battered woman and there's a pimp and it's really bad. The opportunities to do sex work and not do it that way now with OnlyFans and the internet is actually, I think, probably making this safer. I'm sure you can be exploited that way too, but at the end of the day, it's not my business. Do it or not. I don't care. I can't imagine bringing the power of the state to stop you and adults from doing this kind of thing is just anathema to me. Even if it's bad for you, I don't care. I don't know what's good or bad for you. That's your business, not mine.
Robbie, we went into the wrong line of work. We would have crushed it on OnlyFans.
I have to say, my show did get suspended from YouTube several years ago for a week. That happens too many more times. I don't know. I will never rule out OnlyFans being the content creator first free speech platform where news commentary is done. It could happen.
So Robbie fans might be coming soon. Let me tell you, my entire inbox this week was women and men saying, is Robbie single? Can you give him my number? So you might have just made a lot of people very happy.
Good to know I have other career options.
No, I'm like, dude, morals get in the way. Morals are inconvenient. I'm like, if only.
Well, yeah, and just getting moral busybodies get in the way. I just obviously we have to, have some laws in our society, and especially with, with the trans thing, what age you should be allowed to do this. There are important, difficult philosophical questions about what restrictions should be on people who, are underage or something. So I'm not totally there can be no laws or anything, but for people who are clearly adults, I just don't care.
Austin, thanks for the super chat. Mike and Robby only. I'm gonna do only pans, and it'll just be me making pasta.
Or only fans with like air circulation.
Yeah, fans blowing.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, no, not speaking of that. Speaking of what we were saying before, did you watch the Oscars?
I did not watch a single second of it. I think I have only seen. So I saw Dune Part 2 and Wicked. I don't think I saw any of the other films. I will see the Anora. That's the one that won. I'll see it now because it sounds vaguely interesting to me. But I didn't see any of the other films.
Watching Anora versus how the filmmakers talk about Anora is like night and day. So I loved it, but I won't go into it because I don't want to ruin it for you. But to me, my interpretation, at least, which I thought was a very clear one, is that you really get to see the toll that being a sex worker has taken on her and what she's given up for that. And so then to hear these filmmakers getting on the Oscar stage and saying, oh, we're allies of the sex worker community, and this is a celebration of sex workers. I'm like, did we watch the same movie?
Yeah, isn't it a Russian mob type sex worker thing?
It's really good. You would like it, I think.
Summary. I do plan to see it. Yeah, I was kind of rooting for Dune just because I liked it.
I haven't seen the Dunes.
This movie ever. It was pretty good. But
what'd you think of Wicked?
I liked Wicked. I didn't think it was the best movie I've ever seen. I am a fan of the actual source material. I read the Wicked books. I guess I've not seen the Broadway production, although my mom has the music on all the time, so I've heard it all a million times. I liked the original Wizard of Oz books when I was a kid, and also the weird. You might have heard of this because you like some weird things. It was a movie it was called Return to Oz.
Return to Oz! I knew you were going to. Oh my God.
I love that movie.
I love that movie. That is the greatest horror movie ever made.
I so agree. Actually, I went and saw Wicked with my mother. And when we got back, I wanted to, I loaded up Disney Plus and I wanted to watch it.
So did I.
I put it on immediately and she went to bed. She's like, oh my God, I don't want to see this movie again. It's so terrifying.
My dad and I, when I was a kid, were into all of those weird kids' movies and books. Like another one, they never made a movie of it. I hope they do someday. Did you ever read Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator?
Is that's one of the Wonka books?
It's the sequel, and it's like they open up a hotel on Mars, and it's like an acid trip. So all those like 80s, 90s weird things for kids, that was my jam.
They don't make weird, scary, almost improperly done movies anymore. You know what I mean? It's all feel good. It's almost too perfectly put together. There was like an uncanny valley. This is true in video games a little bit too. Like in between the graphics being absolutely terrible and the graphics being like so good it looks like real life, sometimes there was this horrifying middle ground that like I still remember all the like the N64 and GameCube era games with the
Robert Zemeckis movies, like the Polar Express and shit. Ugh.
Oh yeah, terrifying.
Yeah. Wait, sorry, let me catch up with super chats. Justin, thank you so much, dude. Singapore does it right, regulations allows it. So maybe I'll go to Singapore and become a whore.
A whore.
Austin, thanks so much, dude. I thought this was a Broadway podcast. It should be.
It should be. But my Broadway knowledge is actually very low. I don't see a lot of shows or musicals, actually.
I don't know. I moved out of New York City, so I haven't been to any in a while. But Wicked, I saw the Wicked movie, and I was very split on it. I liked it, but it has to be the most frustrating movie I've ever seen. That it is so needlessly broken. Like every little thing in it is just slightly off. The editing is slightly off. The visuals are slightly off. Like they'll have important lines being delivered, and the camera's on the back of someone's head, or there's a scene where the camera is moving and stops in front of different action places, and it cuts off the top of their heads. And I don't know if it was just rushed or what, but the color, like every little thing is slightly off.
Yeah, the CGI, and this is a criticism I have in a lot of movies these days, is that the CGI is just like a bit much. Like that it's too, it looks kind of all too fake, and it takes you out of the movie a little bit. but it was fine. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. Little Shop of Horrors is I love Little Shop of Horrors.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Oh, you have to. You would love it.
I was a fan of my favorite musical is Into the Woods.
I love I was Jack in middle school.
Oh, there you go.
You look like you would have been
sing, so I'm not a singing, dancing. I was not a performer. I was not.
Really?
No, I
feel like you would have been.
Not like standing in front of the class or doing anything. I wasn't like a socially shy person, but I didn't want to give a speech or do anything media.
You didn't want to give a speech?
No, no. I was nervous the first bunch of times I was on TV. Now it does not faze me whatsoever. You just get used to it, and now it's like it's easy. But
see, I was the opposite. That when I was a kid, I was always like, I want attention, whatever. And now that I got a little bit of it, I'm like, I don't want any more time. I'm a little bit over me, you know.
There's always more attention that we must monetize to build our careers. And
yeah, I'm like, no, I don't want it. I want it. My goal with like content and all that is to be able to someday get married, move to an island, and delete social media.
Yeah, that sounds kind of nice. I do, and I've been on the side of, actually, there's a very contrarian take from me because it's not popular at all. I have been dismissive of the social media is harmful narrative that like everyone has come to believe that, oh, it's rotting our brains. It's so bad for so many different ways. And I just have this reflexive, like, okay, but they said that about video games, and they said that about TV, and they said that about, actually, they said that about the radio. They said that about newspapers. They said that about the written word and written language thousands of years ago. Like every new thing causes some moral panic about, especially modes of communication. So for the longest time I've been, and I wrote an entire book about it. My second book is about tech panic and why it's all overblown. That said, I do spend too much time these days going down like wormholes of just watching reel after reel after reel, and I gotta.
That can't be good for you. See, I don't think it's bad inherently, but I think the current form of it is not great, especially the doom scrolling. Like me at least, I'll sit there for hours and could just feel myself losing brain cells.
Yeah, I'll sit there for like 45 minutes, and then I'll go, well, it's fine that I just wasted 45 minutes, but if I was going to consciously do nothing for 45 minutes, I wish I had been like playing video games or something, doing something that is a little bit more rewarding, right? Than just watching the same like clips from television shows or funny jokes or people dancing or whatever it is that I've seen a gazillion times already. I don't know.
No, same. What's your game of choice?
Video games. This goes back to what I was saying earlier that I don't, that I worry I won't ever like a new thing. I just go back and replay like all of the Zelda games. I go back through all of those. I go back through all like the Mario games and Donkey Kong.
What's your favorite Mario game?
Super Mario RPG, which they actually remade. And
I never played that one.
That's a great one.
I loved the what was it? Super Mario World, the Nintendo one.
Yeah.
Super Nintendo.
I just replayed that one. Yep.
Oh, it's so good. When I was a kid, my dad and I were like unbeatable in Super Nintendo games.
Yep. You can play them. I just have a Nintendo Switch, and you can replay. Yeah, you can replay a lot of old stuff. So
yeah, I'm kind of basic bitch in my gaming. This is gonna sound very cliche, but the past year I've gotten very hooked on Fortnite.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like the last person to the party. Everyone was probably over it years ago, but
on that front, I play Smash and Mario Kart with friends a lot. Those are really only the collaborative games I play.
Yeah, I gotta play more. Austin, thanks so much, dude. Broadway musicals always make me feel just slightly more gay than I already am. You know, it is in our DNA, Austin, to like musicals. I feel like I didn't get many of the gay genes, but the only two I got were love of musicals and cute outfits, obviously. Bobby, thanks so much, dude. Okay, I officially like this guy, Nintendo Bros. Wouldn't it be? It would be Nintendo Bros.
Nintendo, yeah, Nintendo Bros. Nintendo Dogs, right? That's a game.
That's a game?
I think it's, I don't know. I think it is a game, yeah. I don't know what I think you just watch dogs. I don't know.
That sounds horrible. What's your favorite board game? You mentioned board games.
Oh, I play a lot of very serious board games.
Oh, me too.
You probably haven't heard of them unless you've played. Well, have you played Settlers of Catan?
No, but I have friends who are into it.
So I play a lot of Settlers of Catan. I have friends. My friends were playing. They were playing Monopoly without my authorization, and I said, "Don't play that game. Play Settlers of Catan. It's like the same game, but it's better." I highly recommend.
Really? Okay, I am a Monopoly shark. I've literally lost friends because of Monopoly.
Well, but here's my problem with Monopoly is that it's a pretty solved game, right? Here my patented strategy to win every time. You want the orange and red properties at any cost because those are more likely to be landed on than any other space on the board because of jail. And then you never upgrade to the hotels because the housing supply runs out, and you'll win every time.
Okay, and my trick. Okay, I shouldn't be giving away my secrets. My trick, in addition to that, get the 4. Nobody does this. Get the 4 railroads because it's a good return on investment, and you don't have to spend more money on it. It's just free money on every corner of the board.
No, that will lose.
Yes.
No.
We
had a lot of agreements. So I'm going to put my foot down there. No,
I will beat you in Monopoly.
That will lose every time to the orange and red properties.
No, you need that also, but I'm saying that will fund your houses.
What you do is trade those away to people in order to have them give you the orange and red properties. And they'll be like, oh, look, now I have all 4 railroads. I get so much. And they'll lose.
No, not just the 4 railroads, but that's what'll fund your other stuff. You need to make people think that they're giving it to you like, oh, I guess I'll take the railroads in addition to whatever I'm getting.
Yeah,
I will play you in Monopoly and I will win.
It's mathematical. The jail, there are more spaces that direct you to jail than is, and so every space on the board is not equally likely to be landed on. The most likely to be landed on spaces are the ones that are 6, 7, and 8 spaces from jail as the orange properties. So that's my
That's true, but the railroads will fund your investments in the houses.
All right.
I'm gonna play you in Monopoly someday.
I also
visit Florida.
And then I play much more. You live in Florida?
I'm from New York City, but this past year I moved to Florida.
I like Florida.
We have a guest room. Come visit.
I will come visit. I'm broadcasting from my guest room here. And then I play some really. So I play a lot of Dominion, which is a card game that I play a million games of online. And then I love the party game Mafia, which you're probably familiar with. I play that online with people a lot.
Have you watched The Traitors?
So I know what it is, and I know that a lot of my favorite Survivor people are in it. But because I fell behind on Survivor, I didn't want to start watching that. But I'm sure I would be very obsessed with it.
There's only one new school Survivor player that's been on there, but like Boston Rob was on this season.
Parvati and Sari have been on it. I've seen it.
My favorites.
I love all those people.
Oh, my favorites. Okay, I need to know. Most important question. What's your favorite Survivor season, and who's your favorite player of all time?
Well, those people we mentioned are probably my favorite. I mean, Sandra, again, don't tell me if she gets overtaken at some point, because again, I haven't seen the last 10 seasons.
I didn't say enough.
Sandra winning twice was pretty amazing. So I think she was probably my favorite. And in fact, the second season she won, that was Heroes versus Villains, I think. It has to be the best. See, maybe it's not fair to compare seasons with returning players versus the other seasons, but I think that is certainly I was just on the edge of my seat for that entire, with the multiple hidden immunity idols and Russell's very impressive gambits, but then Parvati had these even more impressive gambits. And I love Sandra's whole thing where she says, like, just to the camera that, well, Russell's going to take me to the end because he thinks he's going to beat me, but I don't know about that. That's great.
I love her so much. I think her first season is probably my favorite season, Pearl Islands.
That's a good one.
When she's fighting with people and she's like, I can get loud too.
I see what you would like that. I see why you would like that.
You are like the most calm and collected Italian I've ever met in my life. I never would have guessed that you're Italian.
I save my my rage for I don't know, for just punching holes in my wall when I'm off camera.
You know who he's probably my favorite player, who I think is the most underrated player. It's a crime he's only played once. Todd from Survivor China.
Todd from yeah. Oh, didn't he have I think he had serious alcohol or drugs.
Yeah, he's apparently doing well now.
He was the winner in China. Yeah, he was. I liked him. It has faded now. Some of my memories. There were a bunch of other seasons that I really liked.
Did you watch the winner's season?
No,
40?
no. So I quit. What is the one I quit? I can't remember. No, I watched one and then I stopped watching in the middle of the next one because I was so mad about this twist. I feel like the winner's name was. Was there a Ben who was like a military guy who won?
Oh, the fire making Chrissy got robbed.
Yes. I think that's what outraged me, and then I stopped watching the next season. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, see, so a lot of people,
I believe Wendell was the winner of the season I had stopped watching. I think I've heard that name.
I skipped that season, but I know what happens in it. But yeah, a lot of people like the winner's season. For me, the cast could have been a lot better. Like,
I was so furious. I saw the one where Officer Sarah wins, which was a very good season. Although my level of anger when Suri was forced to exit because she was technically the only person not covered by some kind of ridiculous immunity thing, even though no one had voted for her, and Jeff was just like, "Oh, I guess that's it." That was rage-inducing for me. I was like, okay, let's rein in these extra idols and things. That I was furious. I lost sleep over that.
So I actually have an interesting story about that season of Survivor. So a good friend of mine had been on Survivor before. She got asked back for that season, the All-Stars. Another friend of mine, a good friend at the time, went on Survivor and they asked him back the next season. He was a trans, and this was the whole thing where that came out. So it turns out that Jeff Varner, who was the guy that revealed that he was trans, we've talked a bunch. He follows me. I really want to interview him because from all of the things that the person he was saying at the time, I very much believe that it was a setup, that it was pre-planned.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told him that, and it makes sense. So yeah, I would love to interview him someday. It's suffice to say that guy is no longer my friend once I was no longer a liberal.
Yeah,
but I think that whole thing was a publicity scam.
It was interesting, and this could be the last thing I say on this, but it was interesting, the evolution over time to the kind of game that Survivor was, from look at people trying to survive in the wild, and will they get along, into honestly what is more like a board game, or has the structures of a board game, of a competition based on social mafia style dynamics, is really interesting over time to have when they shifted away from but how will they build shelter? How will they, or how will people who's somebody's a rich person from California and somebody's a homeless person from New York, how will they get along? Ooh, social experiment. To no, actually, this is a competition based on like doing parkour and kind of basic physical challenges mixed with puzzles, and then a kind of mafia style social dynamic is the thing the show is.
Yeah, I wish that they would cast more people who have never even seen the show, because it feels like the entire cast now in the newer seasons are just like wannabe professional Survivor players. Like, they know every detail, every in and out. They know what challenge is going to be what. I'm like, cast people who have never even heard of it.
Well, you can see the moment in the episode in the very first season, the merge episode, where it starts to switch from a surviving in the wild type thing to a more serious game where the tribes merge and they're equal. I can't remember what the tribes were called, but they're equal people on both sides. But then the one tribe each person votes individually for someone they don't like, or they have a variety of reasons, right? One person's doing it alphabetically, whatever. And then on the other side, Rich and Sue and Rudy and Katie, was that? I can't remember what her name was. They make a pact.
Kelly.
They will vote together, and so they will always win, because those people don't understand that it's not a who deserves to win or who do you like, or it's not. It's based on the reality. I mean, this is speaking of our politics now, right? It is a competition between two sides. Someone will win, someone will lose. There's no room for foolishness or doing something weird or not falling in line.
And it's so funny how that losing tribe from the first season of Survivor is kind of like the Democrats now, that because the other team, they didn't want to make an alliance. The other team had an alliance. And so they kept getting their people voted out. And I remember them saying, if it happens one more time, we'll know that they have an alliance. And that's kind of what the Democrats are doing right now. If we lose again, maybe we might have to do some introspection and look inwards and change what we're doing.
Exactly.
Appreciates. Thank you so much, dude. Young Sherlock Holmes was released the same year as Return to Oz, and equally way too scary for kids 80s gem. I don't know that one.
I don't think I know that one either.
Young Sherlock Holmes. I got to check that out. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie ever is The Prestige.
I've never seen that.
And I highly recommend. Christopher Nolan is the filmmaker I probably like the best. They're all great, but that is that's my favorite one. It's so good. Rival magicians and has several twists that are just fantastic. That's the movie I make people see if we're gonna watch a movie, and we've hung out enough times where I can now you're gonna have to watch my favorite movie. That's the one we'll watch.
All right, we should watch that when you come visit me.
When I visit, I'll watch that.
Yeah, it's funny how the Oscars are really. God, I don't know how I sat through this fucking thing last night. It was torture, and I don't think anyone has seen any of these movies that are nominated.
Yeah, that seems like it's the thing now that we're all too artsy or too whatever. Sometimes I like the winning movie. It was a couple of years ago now that Parasite won, and then I saw it and I thought it was I think it's a really, really good movie, and actually a sneakily right-wing movie. But then when did La La Land win? Or no, they took it away from La La Land.
No, the gay blacks one. Yay, gay, yay, black. That's all they care about.
No.
They could have just had the title be Untitled Gay Black Movie.
I didn't see it.
No one did. I haven't seen it, but
I think I started it and then I was too bored and I stopped watching.
Yeah, I have no interest. But yeah, no, I think what was it called? I was surprised that they had something that was kind of creative win that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, I'm sure that movie is up my alley, and I watched the first third of it and I liked it, and then I fell asleep and I never watched the rest of it, which is pretty terrible. I know people love it. I'm sure I would like it. I like that kind of thing, but I did not finish it. I intend
to. I don't know how I didn't ask you about this. Chat just reminded me. Have you seen Emilia Perez?
No, I know the controversy quite well, though.
Oh, it is just delicious.
Oh.
You've seen the clips from it, though,
yes.
right?
Yeah, it looked horrible, and it's really funny that she's like a Nazi or whatever. But
that's it. Yeah, it's it's so funny. They were so proud of themselves. The first trans woman nominated for Best Actress, and then she starts tweeting. And at first I was on board. I was like, oh, she sounds based. She's like, fuck George Floyd and the Muslims and all this. And then she's like, oh, yeah, by the way, Hitler had some good ideas, too. I was like, yeah, wait, what?
Yeah, just leave the Hitler stuff out of it.
You would think that would be a good general rule for life. But nobody can seem to abide by that.
I'm going to have to hop off in a minute here.
Yes, totally. Dude, I am so honored. Thank you so much. This was a good-ass time.
My pleasure. Let's do it again sometime. This is fun.
Yes, anytime you want. And where can people find you?
Yes, they can find me on Twitter, just my name, @Robby Soave. And my show is Rising on The Hill, The Hill's YouTube channel, and it airs every morning.
Dude, this was a good-ass time. Yes, so I will be back tomorrow. I didn't even realize the State of the Union is tomorrow, so I'll be streaming that tomorrow. What are you doing for?
I will be watching with my lovely coworkers at Reason Magazine, and probably getting pretty drunk, but not drunk enough that I'm hungover for the show the next morning. So we have to watch ourselves on weeknights when we host morning shows.
Everyone is looking forward to that. The drunk State of the Union leading to the Robby fans.
Yeah, yes, indeed. I'll be drinking wine.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I will be live tomorrow with Greg and Vidal Super Ninja watching the State of the Union, which I'm sure will be torturous. I will probably be equally drunk. We'll see who ends up getting more drunk. Robby, this is amazing. Thank you so much, dude.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.